people don't understand, when you're loading in, that
Yes.
you're, you got to get this done. But you're always just so kind.
Well, it's an act, and I've been taking acting lessons in Los Angeles for a while.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Tulsa Tempo podcast. My name is Amy Elizabeth, and I'm your host. And we are very happy to welcome today the one and only Matt Axton.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. He's here doing a little run in the Oklahoma, Tulsa area.
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind enough to come over and spend a little bit of time with us today. So how has it been so far? You've been here for less than a week.
Yeah, less than a week. I drove across the country from Los Angeles to Tulsa by myself.
Aw.
And then flew the band in. So I'm doing the reverse rock star is what I call it.
Yeah.
But we were in town also to play a couple of gigs, but record an album. We've fallen in love with Tulsa over the last few years, touring across the country. And we just figured come to a place where we know they have good musicians and they appreciate good music and have a nice laid back lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. So I heard you say the other night, you go to get to from where you're at, you go just 20 hours this way.
You just go left for 20 hours. It's very easy.
It'll get you right to Tulsa.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I like that reverse rock star thing too. I mean, he's got a really hot band. Y'all, this band that he plays with is very, very good. But so I guess that it's kind of appropriate to treat them rock star-ish.
Yeah. I realized too, me driving by myself in the van is the only way to get alone time now.
Really?
So I was like, it's okay. I can just stare off into the desert and practice songs by myself and yell as loud as I want to in the van.
So tell us about the new album that you're working on here in town.
Like I said, because of my love of all things Okie and especially Tulsa, I wanted to, like I said, bring the band out here, a place that's a little slower paced than Los Angeles, and a place but also that we could go catch some good music every night and do all that stuff. So this album is sort of my ode to those two lifestyles of, we have sort of the little country rootsy aspect, and then we have sort of the big city sort of funky rocky aspect, and they're going to meet in the middle. And that's how I like to write my tunes anyway. A little mix, like my dad, he just wanted to write a good song. He didn't care what genre it was. So I'm sort of that way. And I think Oklahoma's always been a place like that, where it's has a eclectic group of people that call Oklahoma home.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was a perfect place to go record an album and be inspired.
Nice. And you have over 300 original songs.
300 original songs, and 12 of them are good. I'm trying to figure out which ones they are. So please let me know.
Okay. You heard that right here? Because you have 3 albums currently out. Same Old Story it dropped last week. Last Thursday on the 5th of February. Yeah. So Same Old Story just dropped. He has 3 before that. He has Matthew C. Axton, Bad Moon, and Blue Sky Rain. I would highly recommend all of them. There's some really good music on there. You can hear your influences all over the place. I mean, my God, I'm hearing like ZZ Top. I'm hearing the Allman Brothers. I'm hearing like a little bit of even a little reggae flavor, a little funk. It's like, wow, and they're all really good songs. Very well written, very well done.
I said that's the key. If it's a good song, it can sort of land in any form.
Yeah.
So like I said, and my dad was the same way. As I mentioned, he just loved writing a song. He didn't care, but his first hit was folk with Greenback Dollar. His biggest hits were all rock anthems like Joy to the World, Never Been to Spain, like The Pusher. And then his own personal hits later on were all country. So he sort of hopped in genres, and I feel a natural calling to do it the same way.
Well, for those of our audience that don't know, tell us about your dad. Who was Hoyt Axton?
But my father was a entertainer extraordinaire by the name of Hoyt Axton. His biggest claim to fame was writing a song called Joy to the World / Jeremiah was a Bullfrog. Not the Christmas one. That's a whole different thing. The one about a frog that drinks wine. Everybody knows that one. But he wrote a bunch of tunes. He toured all over the world his entire life. He was a touring musician. I grew up in that lifestyle, which is what set me up for this lifestyle. But he also did a bunch of acting in movies and TV. You might remember him for such roles as the father in the movie Gremlins, right?
Rand.
Rand Peltzer got the Mogwai and created all the havoc. I think he was in over 50 movies and 100 different TV shows. And that's sort of the magic. He has long since passed. He passed away in 1999. And he was a very proud Okie. He was born down in Duncan, Oklahoma, and sort of hopped all over the state. I still have a lot of family in this great state here. But like I said, my dad just sort of hopped in any artistic pool he could find. And I'm just trying to pay homage to him and my family and try and make good music along the way.
I think you're doing a fine job. Fine job. So
I paid her to say that. And I paid it.
And you also, and your grandma was someone that we all should know. So
yes.
Tell us about Miss May.
Okay, we're gonna hop in the way back machine right now.
Mama May
Axton, Mayborn Axton,
the Queen Mother of Nashville.
The Queen Mother of Nashville.
Yes.
So that's where actually the Axton musical legacy started. One generation prior to my dad, with my grandmother, Mama May. She was a part-time school teacher and songwriter living in Oklahoma and Texas in the early 1950s. And because of my grandfather's, he was in the service, so they hopped around a lot. And they happened to land in Jacksonville, Florida in 1950. I think it was early 1950s, and 52 or 53, something like that. And my grandmother was she was the lead PR person for Colonel Tom Parker. And specifically for one of his main artists, a guy named Hank Snow, who's the biggest country artist on the planet in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest. And I guess there was this young artist who was trying to get some traction locally down there. And so my grandmother, because of her connection with Colonel Tom and all that stuff, was able to get this young artist named Elvis Presley to start opening up for Hank Snow. And this I recently learned. I knew a general form of the story. I pulled it from my dad's versions, but my cousin called me on the trip out here. She's like, you got to add these other details because they're way more important. And it was that my grandmother was the one. I always knew she championed Elvis, but it turns out she was the one who got him connected with his first ever large gigs. That they came up to her like, May, we know you can help us out. Like, please let us get on a gig. And she's like, all right, well, you're unknown. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you up in a hotel room. I'll make sure we take care of you. And I'm going to sneak you onto these couple shows. And then once you guys do well, then, the rest is up to you. Mm-hmm. And so she did that in her whole career, her whole life. That's sort of what she did was she was a songwriter, but she was also a connector of people. And after that success of connecting Elvis with Colonel Tom Parker, and then writing Elvis's first million-selling hit called Heartbreak Hotel. After that, she moved to Nashville, became known as the Queen Mother of Nashville, and started the careers of some of the biggest artists, especially in the country genre, starting with Willie Nelson and Dolly Parton and Reba McEntire and Garth Brooks. And Blake Shelton was the last person that she sort of guided through the industry, which is pretty magical to say that my grandma had an influence from the 50s, still now, in 2026, somebody has still Axton connections that day. It's pretty amazing.
I think it is.
Awesome. Hopefully I can get some of those connections someday, Blake.
And I remember seeing her on Hee Haw with your dad.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking she was always so pretty to me. I'm like, she was just so pretty and she was so kind. You can just tell that she was cool.
And she was. And she was one of those people that never left the house without dressing to the nines. Mm-hmm. Even if it was just going to the grocery store on the corner, she had to make sure to look the part, and she lived it. She did.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. I mean, everybody then in Nashville that has ever been to Nashville knows her name.
Yeah, and that's a fun thing. A very rewarding thing for me is sort of digging up those stories and seeing like the lights come on in people's heads when they remember that, or like connect all the dots through the family. Like that's a huge motivator for me, just a little independent artist, trying to change the world.
Not a little independent. You're doing pretty good.
We're doing as good as we can. We can always do better. We can always spread more joy.
Yes.
That is our goal, more joy.
There you go. Speaking of, you founded the Tahoe Joy Festival and also the Americana Joy Music Series. So talk about that, because that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and if I would have known how much work that was, I wouldn't have done that. So I was born and raised up in Lake Tahoe, California, which is up in the high Sierra Nevada mountains. And most people don't know, if you haven't heard of Lake Tahoe, it's a quirky spot in the fact that the lake is right there in the crux of California and Nevada, and it's split in the middle by the two states. So one half is all these giant casinos, the Nevada side, and one half is all these little mountain town. And that's where I'm from, this little place called Tahoe City. There's only a few months of the year where you can functionally have shows outside in Tahoe, because as Amy just noticed, they just got 5 feet of snow.
Yes, I just read that Tahoe just got 5 feet of snow like yesterday.
Yes, which is a common occurrence up there. My shoveling muscles were very strong growing up. But it's a very small mountain town. It has a lot of socioeconomic changes going on as far as people being priced out of it and young families not being able to move there and share in this amazingly beautiful place that traditionally has had a lot of like working class, middle class, connections to the area. And so I wanted to go back and try and do something good for the community that raised me. And so I went, this will be the 4th year, but I went and started a music festival right in our little hometown. And it's completely free, and it's a benefit festival. So all the money we raise goes to local music and environmental nonprofits, things that are very important to me, music and nature.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's free right on the beach. And so it's a way to sort of celebrate the community that's still there and showcase, show the outside people that there's still artists there that call it home and care about it. So that's been going on for 3 years. It's the beginning of June. It's free, like I said, in Tahoe City. And then offshoot, I live in Los Angeles right now, and I do a monthly Americana music series called Americana Joy. Joy is the thread on everything. Yeah. We will talk about that many times. I think it's the best way to live, with a little bit of joy whenever you can. But I run a monthly music series there that's same thing. It's free. We take a lot of pride in actually sort of compensating and paying the bands, which Los Angeles is not very good at doing, and the industry in general is very not good at doing. And it's always original music, and it's always an acoustic opener and a couple full bands, a touring band. So we really try to mix it up and showcase an eclectic, swath of original Americana music, which is hard to do. And most people are sort of going to tribute band. We had to battle DJs for 20 years as a live band, and now we have to battle tribute bands, which is fine. True. If anybody makes their money in art, I'm all for it. But we still got to give platforms for original music to be shown, so we can, move the needle that way. Yeah.
Maybe you can do an offshoot of that here in Oklahoma, because we got a lot of that.
Yeah. You do.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, that'd be great. And trust me, I started this as sort of just a model that we could take to different markets, because it's just, it's the same idea. Find a good venue that cares about the quality of the show, that is like artist forward, and then showcase that scene and raise money for local people doing good.
I think Tulsa's the next spot to do that.
I agree. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, see, you heard it here first.
Tulsa Joy. Very easy.
Tulsa Joy. Easy. There you go. Yeah, that's beautiful. Did you always want to be a musician? Because when I was doing some background on you, you had an injury when you were younger that left you kind of bedridden for a while, and that's when you picked up your guitar. So can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So music was always around. People asked if I liked it, or when I was exposed to it, I was like, it just was it. Mm-hmm. It was life. So not only was my dad a musician and an artist extraordinaire, but my mother was my dad's piano player and band manager, and band mom too. She made sure the machine was moving correctly. And so my legacy story is a teeny bit different in the fact that I had not only my two generations of musicians, but both parents were active musicians. So when it was time to hit the road, it was a family affair. We just hopped in a bus and traveled all over the universe. And most amazing lifestyle ever as a kid, waking up in a new place every day. And that was a different time back in the 80s where they just we'd pull up to this big festival or something. And they'd just be like, all right, be back before it's dark. You're just like, all right, just run around, gone, come back. And like I said, but it set me up for a respect and a love for the people who travel, the people who dedicate their lives to creating art like this. So music was always around. It was always encouraged, but it was never forced on me. And I was supposed to go be a football star. I went out to OU and did a whole recruiting trip, and then met Barry Switzer, did the whole thing. I thought that was going to be my next phase in life. Like I said, I was in band. I loved music, but sports was sort of a natural calling for me. And then I ended up hurting my knee playing basketball, ironically, and being laid up for a few months is when I picked up the guitar. I diddled on it a little bit before, but that's when I picked it up and started taking it seriously and started writing songs right then, and it just flowed. It came very naturally, and I just ran with it, and I haven't put it down ever since in 20 years. And like I said, the music is still going. There's always stuff to learn. You can never master these guitars, but you make them functional, and that's what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah. And you have your dad's strap on your guitar, which I think is just so cool.
Oh, yeah. And I don't have much of my father's or my grandmother's, but I do have a couple guitars and a couple shirts and that strap. That's all I got.
That's so great. I noticed that the first time I saw you, and I'm like, I was trying to read it because I was kind of in the back. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's his dad's strap. How cool is that?
Oh, yeah.
And I remember your dad saying, I read this quote, and we were talking about this a little earlier or before the show, which I just love. Your dad said that you felt like he was a satellite dish and the music was floating in the cosmos, and he was the lucky one who could pick up the waves. Yeah, and I just think that's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. Did he always say stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
Like just little, antidotes or something about how he saw stuff?
That's pretty much all he did, to be honest. I mean, he was a giant kid. He was the character that you saw on stage or on TV. He really did not put on any airs when it came to that stuff. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things for me is hearing the genuine connections that my dad created through his fans and people that met him. Even just for a moment, my dad really did treat everybody equally. He didn't care if you're the president or a pauper. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. He would take time and cared about your time. And that's something I've tried to carry on and reciprocate. And I think it's something that's sort of lost in the industry in general, especially in like the celebrity aspect of like what's happening with social media and everything. It just becomes so impersonal. And the reality is I'd rather have, 1,000 people that are friends first and fans afterwards than 1,000,000 people that just hit like in passing. I don't know. Yeah. That's just me though. I'm old fashioned like that.
Well, I see that, because I've seen you play, a few times, and I love, how you interact with the audience. I love how you interact with your band. You guys are hilarious, but you lay it down, it's really good. And then you always take the time, before the show, after the show, you're unloading your van. And here I am, Matt, can we take a picture?
Oh, yeah.
So, I just think, and you just don't ever seem to be bothered by that.
No,
a lot of people don't understand, when you're loading in, that you're, you got to get this done, but you're always just so kind.
Well, it's an act, and I've been taking acting lessons in Los Angeles for a while. But it's like I said, with my dad, that's a big part of it. That's the reward. Mm-hmm. That's why you do it, to actually like have a connection with somebody and give them a little escape or a reason to smile or laugh or cry or dance, whatever they need to do. Like that is our job.
Yeah.
But it is hard. Most people don't see the other side of the show, which is, the amount of time it takes to drive there and unload, the 2 hours before, then 2 hours after. They don't realize that, even an hour show is actually, it's a working day. It's 6 or 7 hours to do those functionally, but like I said, that hard work is all for that, to connect with people.
Yeah. And it's so worth it. I love and appreciate live music so much, so to see a show, like that, to see a live show, because you do great. Your live shows are just so great, and they're so fun. And so to know, that, yeah, man, you've been working for 4 hours already, and then you're going to get up there and give this to us, I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
and I think your audience does too, because it's just great.
Well, and like I said, there's nothing more magical in the world than having the band and the audience click at the same time. We're like, hey, this is a shared experience. We're going to have fun. And we do, we do a lot of improvisational stuff in there, especially for live shows. We like to extend it and do little extra solos and, I call them little music traps, throw them at oh, it's your turn now, buddy.
Little duels.
Yeah, lots of duels and stuff.
And then the audience gets to pick the winner.
Yeah, exactly.
That was so great.
So I said, every show is going to be a little different. And I think that makes it really, fun and rewarding, ideally, for the audience, But we also take a lot of pride in sort of catering our shows to each space. Like a lot of bands are like, hey, we are a reggae band. We are a country band. We are a rock band. That's what we do. And I get that on a marketing standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. But like I said, the way I grew up with music, we always just have enough tunes in our head and in our quiver that we want to like shoot the right ones at the audience. So we're going to treat, playing a big jammy Allman Brothers festival different than we would playing an intimate theater, than playing, an acoustic solo thing. Obviously, there can be a little different volumes to those, but we try to cater each set to each show, which is a lot of work, but it's really rewarding when it works.
Yeah, because you had how many sheets of how many sheets of paper do you have on there with set list, and y'all are just picking, what songs to play?
Yeah.
And that's
a novel.
Just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because it's never the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's great. And you have your audience sing-alongs, Dell and the Dealer, and then Bony Fingers. Everybody loves that song.
Especially out here. Never been to Spain does really good in Oklahoma for some reason.
Imagine that. Yeah. I'm dying to know. So when you were a kid, when you were on the road, can you tell me one story that was just something that you'll always remember? Like when you were touring, like, your parents said, go out, run around, be back by dark. So what did you do? With all that, did you go on rides? Did you play games? Were you off doing unmentionables or?
Just chasing pretty girls and eating candy off the floor. I don't know what else we did, but it was a different world back then, And my story is a little different too. I came much later in my dad's career. My older siblings are about 16 to 20 years older than me, so they were around in the heyday when my dad. I'll do one little brag for them, and then I'll bring back to me. My oldest brother would tell these stories of my dad lived at the mouth of Laurel Canyon in the late 60s and early 70s in Los Angeles, and that was like the music mecca of the time, right? That's where everything was pouring out of that little area. And my dad's house was sort of like the party house. Like people, when they drove by it, if there was more than 3 cars in the driveway, they stopped and hung out. And it was just like an average occurrence. It was just all these. My brother would say he'd wake up to go get ready for school, and it'd just be like Dylan shooting pool in the back, and like James Taylor working on a song, or it was just that crew. They shared that space, and it created like some of the best music ever because of how talented that group was and how they filtered it all up. But my brother told a story of he got in a fight with my dad, and his favorite band was the Beatles, like everybody at the time. And he said he heard some people outside hanging out, talking. And then they left, and afterwards he's like, well, who was that? My dad's like, well, the Beatles just came over to hang out. And my brother said he like never forgave him for the rest of his life for not telling him. But that's what he get for being a brat, I don't know. It's one of those things. I came around much later, didn't get those Beatles days, but I got a lot more of them. Whenever we were on tour, we'd stop at somebody's house. We'd stop at Merle Haggard's house. We'd stop at Waylon's Spot, or we'd stop, wherever we were. And it was just a different time where you had to like actually know their address. You couldn't just call them and be like, oh, we'll be there someday. You actually had to show up and do that stuff. So that was very, very vivid. Meeting Merle a bunch of times because they were both California out there. The main stuff, to be honest, was more my dad interacting with people, just the average person. Because my dad did, every time we stopped at a truck stop or a restaurant, somebody would come on the bus inevitably. And my dad would always tell stories and give them something. It was just sort of like the way my dad worked. He just, like I said, he just really got a lot of power from interacting with people that way. And like I said, I think he was maybe one of the best in history to do that, as far as, like I said, he was one of those guys that signed every autograph, waited till, the last person was happy and did that. And I know there's a lot of celebrities that have done that, but like I said, it sort of seems to be separated nowadays, that sort of aspect. But my favorite story of him that doesn't involve a direct personal thing though, but another thing he loved to do is he loved to throw money out the window and watch people pick it up. It was a very funny thing. He'd hide and he'd like throw out the window and be like, watch, and the person would pick it up like, oh my God, like look around like, what an amazing day, right? Everybody knows that feeling. Joy, yes. And so he just did that for fun. And his band would get really mad. He's like, that's my money. Like, you can just give that to us. And now I don't have any of his money, so now I know where it went now that I tell that story.
Throw it out the window, literally.
Yeah, throw it out the window. But the amount, like I say, he just wanted to leave a trail of sort of joy behind him. That's the way he did it. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, you've been on the road, for a while, throughout the years. So tell me one of your favorite stories.
Oh, my goodness. So I moved to LA 5 years ago, and we've been, the whole world sort of shut down a little bit around there. And then when it opened up, we sort of went full force. We've been touring nonstop the last 3 years across the country, and Oklahoma becoming our favorite, like, sort of home base.
We're going to start a petition to have him move here, y'all.
Honorary resident. I'll take it. But most of the favorite stuff, besides like having little moments of like the music clicking with the band and being like, ooh, that was magical, let's keep that type of stuff, it's mainly just hearing the stories, hearing the stories of my grandma and my dad and how much their artistic input had influence on people. And then me being able to carry that and then add on to it. You know, we create another generation of people. I mean, truthfully, the best gigs we ever have are the ones where there's babies and dogs in the audience. I like those. You know, that's the audience I want, 6 to 96. It's a good, that's a good
and a
market
couple dogs
there.
thrown in the mix, right?
Yeah, a couple dogs. Yeah, because if they're having fun, everyone's having fun.
Yeah,
it's one of those. I mean, like I said, most of my best memories have come from that very interpersonal reactions and connections around that, and the family legacy and stuff. But I mean, there's nothing better than playing in front of a big crowd and have everyone dance and have a good time. You know, that's mainly. I'm trying to think of one perfect one, but no, they're all perfect in their own way.
I think there was. Well, it wasn't in Tulsa, but I think in last year in Eureka Springs.
Oh yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That was a hot gig. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun, and a lot of times for us independent people, it's more you're asking these festivals like, hey, take a little chance on us. Like, let's see if we can. This is what we want to be, but I guarantee you we'll knock it out the park. And luckily, Eureka Springs, they took a chance on us, and it was a blast. Awesome town, awesome energy around that stuff.
Great stage. I have my little dog with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, dogs and kids.
Yeah.
Check.
I also liked when you were at the Tulsa House concerts over at Susan Cram's
Tulsa
house.
Time. Yeah.
That was
always great.
God, that was awesome.
Because that's the perfect middle ground where we can be full band and make noise, but also it's quiet and intimate enough you can hear all the very, very, very funny stories I tell.
And he does have great stories, y'all. He really does. Where can we find you? Tell us about where your socials, your music, what you got coming up, the tour this year.
Absolutely.
Talk about all that.
Well, we just released, like I said, the Same Old Story album a couple weeks ago. It's very first vinyl, which is very excited about.
It's beautiful.
Never done that. Yeah, never done that before. But then we're out here recording another album in Tulsa, going out to the Ripley Ranch.
Yes.
Basically, I pulled all the Tulsa people I knew, all the musicians. Like John Cooper, you got a Red Dirt Rangers thing there.
Yes, we love the Red Dirt Rangers.
And John Fulbright, Jesse Aycock, all those guys, buddy Jim Bachman. And I was like, I pulled them separately. I was like, where should we go record if we come to Tulsa? And they all said, without a doubt, go to Ripley Ranch. Just sort of a magical thing. And I wanted to do an album the way that my dad and that generation did, which was go lock themselves in a cabin in the woods and come out with a piece of art, like live and breathe it for a couple of weeks, which I'd never done. I've always sort of done a couple of days in the studio, then you sort of piecemeal it together afterwards. So it was very exciting to do that, and we're going to Ripley Ranch right now as we speak, and we'll probably release this album later in the year when we come back. We do a big tour in August, September, go over the Northeast and Nashville. We always come back here and say hi. And then we have a big Northwest tour in April going all over Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Washington, and Oregon, California. And then in June and July, we're hopping all over the Western United States and coming out here maybe a couple more times in May. And I don't even know. We're just driving. We're just going like this all over the place.
Just all that windshield time, it does the body good, right?
It really does. It really does. But, in the end, we'll go wherever the music is needed and wherever we can find people that care about it.
And spread your joy.
Spread the joy.
Yes.
It ain't easy, but someone's got to do it.
Yes, you do a fine job. And where can we find you on the socials?
Oh, yeah. So socials, Matt Axton Music on all of the, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And then mattaxton.com is the website. And we sort of run everything through there. So come say hi. You can get some merch and let us know where we're going. And like I said, joyfoundation.org is the nonprofit that I started to help with the festival and the music series and just sort of help with artists' foundational support, basically to help them get their feet underneath them and ideally make more original music in this world is our dream.
I love it. It's hopefully soon coming to Tulsa. Phase 2. So, well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course. Thank
we
you.
Really appreciate your time. And I'm just so happy when you come to Tulsa. So you're part of my joy. So thank you.
All right. That makes two of us.
So, and thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate y'all. We're coming to you from the beautiful Blue Couch Studios located right across the street from the church studio here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I hope you enjoy this show as much as we loved creating it today. Because Matt, you're just a rock star, man. And I'm just thrilled that you were here today. So
I keep telling everybody that.
Always. Absolutely. And go out and see him play. He's going to be all over the United States, so there's no reason why y'all should miss him. MattAxton.com. You can find all his tour dates, buy some merch, buy the new record, and let him give you a little bit of joy. So thank you guys for tuning in. We love you, Tulsa.
All right. Joy to you.